Next, I'd like to add a little bit more detail to the artwork. Our golf ball should have dimples, and we're going to be setting those up in another layer above the ball. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick look at a technique called masking. In Flash, masking allows me to take one layer and crop out portions of it with another layer. Just so we know how this works, let's create a masking example on a junk layer, and then we can simply get rid of it when we're ready to do the dimples. I'll go up to the layer palette and show hide all the current layers. And then we can make a new layer right above our selected one. Then we just need to draw something in the layer that we can mask. I'm just going to select the rectangle tool up here. And I'm going to change the fill color to be this rainbow kind of gradient here, just so we can see the edges of the rectangle. I'll just sketch out a big old rectangle here. It's got our rainbow filling it up. And then in order to mask the rectangle, I'm going to add a layer above layer 6. We'll go right back up to our layer palette, choose new layer, and we'll draw something into that layer. Now I'm going to switch to the oval tool in this case, and switch my fill color to a solid color, something recognizable like pink. I'm just going to draw an oval right on top of that. Now you can see the portion of the rectangle that the oval covers. It's only from the yellow bar over here to right on the edge of the pink. And right now I have two normal layers, so they show up just like regular layers do. But if we double click on the icon in front of the layer, that brings up our layer properties palette. And you'll notice that our layer can actually be one of several types. What we're interested in right now is mask. I'm going to take layer 8 and make that into a mask layer. We'll click OK, and you can see that it gets a little bit different icon. Now, once we have a mask layer, I'm going to take layer 6, double click on that one, and I'll set it to a layer that's being masked. Now, it doesn't look like much right now, but when we lock the two layers, we can see the effect of the masking. You can see that that pink area becomes basically a hole that we can see the other layer through. Now, this will work with any two layers you want, so it's a great way to crop one layer using another. It doesn't matter what the mask looks like, but notice if I unlock it, we can go back to seeing the original layers and then work on them. The only thing that matters is the fill shape in the mask layer. In fact, let's try one more thing before we go away from this. I'm going to double click on the pink circle in our mask, and I'll just hit delete, and I'll switch over to a paintbrush tool. Let me set the brush size big, and I'll just squiggle out a brush shape. Since I put that into the mask layer, when I go back and lock both layers, you can see that's the new shape of my mask, and we can still see portions of the rectangle through it. Now, one last thing before we get rid of these two layers. I'm going to remove all the settings I put on the layers. I'm going to unlock both of them, and I'm going to double click on the layer icon and set them both back to normal layers. There's one, and you can see the other one went with it. Now, the reason I wanted to undo all of that stuff is because I wanted to show you the shortcut for setting up a mask layer. Once you have your two layers and the shapes drawn in them that you want to act as your mask, all you need to do is right-click on the mask layer. Now, if you don't have a two-button mouse, just hold down the Control key on a Mac while you left-click. You'll notice here in the right-click menu, we have a mask option, and when I turn that on, it actually changes all the rest of the settings for me. It set the second layer that's being masked, and it locked both layers so that we can instantly see our mask selection. Now, we're going to be doing this on the golf ball, so we really don't need these two layers. I can actually just select them and hit the trash can, and we can get rid of them both so that we can go back to working on our golf animation. Let me quickly bring back all the layers by clicking on the eyeball. You can see that brings them all up, and we're ready to start working on our golf ball.